Welcome to the Ignorance is Strength podcast. I'm your host, Fabian motherfucking Ojeda, and I don't know shit, but that's okay. All right, let's get this shit started. Thank you everybody for listening to the Ignorance is Strength podcast. Hope you all enjoyed the last fucking 51 times I've said that to open up this show. We got, no guests today. This is a first. And, I know a lot of people were expecting shit show number 5, which we kind of did, but we just didn't press record. So, it kind of happens. It's the first time that the 4 of us were actually able to gather in person. And instead of, putting that shit on the podcast, we just kind of enjoyed each other's company, had a few drinks, some fucking tomahawk steaks, and it was what it was. And you know what? It's hard to reschedule 4 adults to do anything. So, I decided instead of trying to really push it, I thought, let's just get this done and let's celebrate today's 1-year mark by having the obligatory 1-year anniversary acknowledgement show. I don't mean to make this sound like a fucking corny ass, acceptance speech at an award show or something like that. But I really want to thank the people that have been listening. There have been, some loyal listeners locally, which was expected. The people that I knew from El Monte or, people I've known from work or elsewhere that have really, kind of listened every week. But then there's also people that are listening all over the U.S., all over the world. I have no idea who the fuck you are, but your state pops up and is highlighted, or your country pops up and is highlighted on my listener map every week. And that's pretty fucking cool, man. To see that people that I don't even know are listening to this regularly. So kudos to you. And I hope you all keep listening. And we're going to just crank out more content. I want to take a quick look back. So really quickly, I think I've mentioned it a few times before on different episodes, but the podcast was really born of, boredom and being stuck doing nothing during the early stages of the pandemic. And so I just wanted something, a passion project, something to keep me busy, to keep me sane, to, keep me entertained, really. And I've been listening to a lot of pro wrestling podcasts. I love the storytelling and everything. And I thought to myself, I can do this. This is super simple. You just fucking press play, record and have a conversation with people. And surprisingly, I've had a lot of great conversations with people I never expected to talk to. But it's been a lot of fun. And I want to take a quick look back at some of these conversations. So we started off the podcast, what I called the safe interviews. So I interviewed a lot of, I've interviewed family and friends and a close circle, just because I knew that I can have a conversation with them. I can force a conversation with them if necessary. But we started off with a really cool topic, and I think that got us off on the right foot because there's a lot of intrigue behind, something like steroids. And I just so happen to have a cousin who did steroids. And, he kind of did a deep dive and talked about, the how, the why. And for people who have never, had that inkling of wanting to do it, it said a lot, told a lot of about what's going on, in his head. And, I personally hope that he gets off that shit at some point, but it is what it is. He mentioned on there, he'll probably be on it for life. We'll see, man, but that can't be good for you. But I still want to thank him for being the first guest, my cousin Andre, on the podcast. Did you get off of him for a while?
I did. I got off of it for like 6 months, and then I hopped right back on because, it's not a depression that hits you. It's just like, look, I was here, now I'm here. Like, I need to get back to there.
How quickly did you, deflate completely? Or did you at all?
Honestly, I did, because I wasn't eating the right amount of food. Everything was, like I said, everything was not on point. I was eating whatever the hell I wanted.
Okay, so in addition to not having the steroids that you needed to keep your physique, your food intake went to complete shit again?
Yes, it did.
Okay, so it really is like kind of like depression.
Yeah, definitely.
It's like you just don't give a fuck and then start falling back into like bad habits.
Correct.
Okay. And then, so you didn't do the competition, right? Did you, once you got back on, I mean, did you notice the same kind of results again immediately?
Not immediately. It was, like I said, it's not a magic pill where you're just like, I'm going to take this and overnight I'm going to be like fucking huge. Mm-hmm. No, it doesn't work like that.
Episode number 2, we had the beginnings there of one of the most recognizable people on the podcast. He's always fucking on. He's a member of the shit show. For episode number 2, we talked to good friend Alfred Whitey Villarino. And he really, he talked about not just, the title of the episode, Music, Marriage, and Marijuana, which is also interesting, but he talked about growing up differently, and kind of, about how he got bullied and whatnot. And we talked about how he, he turned that around and he became a high school wrestler, and how he really, he started getting at least my respect out of that, for what that's worth. But if you've been listening regularly, you know him, and he's been back on. He's been a co-host a few times. He'll probably co-host, another bunch of episodes. But definitely check out this, first episode he did, his introductory episode. And then, listen, if you listen to that one and you listen to, some of the shit shows, you get to really hear the difference in tone and everything and how comfortable one becomes. Because, doing your first podcast, I think some people are very, even if we've known each other forever, some people are very, how do I put it? Maybe nervous or shy or, just kind of tentative. But you start to get really comfortable after you forget that you're pressing record and play and whatnot. You had mentioned before that you kind of like I don't know if you got removed or you chose to leave like other schools and stuff like that, but you had some issues growing up at different schools, right?
Oh yeah, I was getting in at the other school I was at. I was getting in fights and every day. It was just like the worst over at that other school. I mean, all the kids would call me names, and we're already like 13. Mm-hmm. 12, but I was about 12 years old at the time, I mean, we should be maturing a bit then, and I felt that was an unsafe environment, so.
What were they saying? What were they doing?
I mean, they would call me stuff like Farmer John and things like that, and this, the one straw that broke the camel's back was there's a kid at school, and he came up to me and he's like, I heard you were talking shit about my mom or whatever, like, which told me that one of the other kids or whatever decided that he thought it was funny to get this other kid who was too stupid to realize that they were fucking playing him or whatever, to start a fight. And, pick on the white kid over here. So, and, so anyway, there was a group of kids that surrounded me. And there's probably about 20 kids around me after this kid comes up to me because everybody knew what was going on. And I was like, I didn't know what was going on. All of a sudden, this kid that I hardly even knew or whatever comes up to me and he's like, I heard you were talking shit about my mom. Then somebody pushes me from behind and this kid sucker punches me. And then I blacked out at that point. So I fell backwards, blacked out, and then I woke up and everybody was kicking both of us. We're both on the floor. Mm-hmm. And I don't know what the fuck happened. I mean, I could have been out for longer.
Then we had episode number 3, and we had another shit show member make his debut there in his introductory episode. And it was Rafa Sosa Centeno. We talked a little bit about nursing during the pandemic. He's a nurse. But we also, chatted it up a little bit about growing up Monty. But we had slightly different experiences because, as you'll hear, he talked about being undocumented and how that was sort of a challenge and whatnot. But, he talks about where he's at now. And, he's gone, in my eyes, from being undocumented to, really now being unstoppable. And kudos to that guy, man. He's taking classes for his master's. And, when I say unstoppable, I mean, he really is. Nobody's getting in his way. He's doing what he wants to do, despite the fact that he wasn't born here. And I know that's kind of a fucked up barrier for some people, but he doesn't let that get in his way. And that's really cool to see. I have had the privilege of being born here, and I can't imagine having to, overcome something like that, because it isn't easy. And my parents, came here illegally, and I know that a lot of their life wasn't easy. So, I mean, it shed a lot of insight on, what that life is like. And so hopefully people, got something out of that. I didn't realize how privileged I was to be, a citizen and whatnot, till you have friends like you, growing up, and I'm like, oh, you can't do this. Really?
Yeah.
I'm like, but I can do that. I'm like, but we're the same color, and
same color, same city, same everything.
Same everything, except you were born a few hundred feet the other way.
Growing up, I still remember. I went to like Head Start or kindergarten. I can't remember which one, but I still remember showing up to the first day of school, and some lady talking in a foreign language I couldn't understand. And I was like, what the hell is going on right now? What is she trying to say? And me and the other kid that was, a paisa, we looked at each other and we're like, what, ¿qué dijo? And we're like, no sé, I don't know. So it was a big learning curve.
When did you start to notice, like, wait a minute, hold on, I speak the same, but, like, I'm not able to do the same shit?
I always knew I was a little different. I don't know how I knew it, but, maybe mom and dad were telling me, hey, you can't get into trouble like other kids because you're not like other kids, you'll get deported. Or, hey, be careful with this, don't be doing shit like that. So it was always in the back of my mind, oh, fuck, I'm going to get deported. This came perfect fruition, 7th grade. I was riding my bike, I fell, I broke my elbow pretty bad, And
left side, right? Left side.
What's that?
Left
side, dude. Yeah, my body landed on the street, my arm and my elbow landed on the sidewalk. So that curve really did a number on me. And I remember picking up my broken elbow and walking like 2 blocks to the nearest park, right? And I just feel bones crunching in there. And one of the kids is like, oh shit, I'll go get your mom. Somebody called the paramedics, and I remember the paramedics getting there, the fire department getting there, and they're asking me a bunch of questions, and I'm not answering any of them.
Episode number 4 was interesting because it was one of the first episodes we talked about weight loss, and I forced my little brother on it, and he lost 100 pounds twice in his life, and I hoped that it would serve as almost like a motivational kind of starting point for me, because this pandemic's been really kicking my ass. Not just that, but the years of injuries and being lazy has really taken a toll on my health. But we've yet to see any results. I mean, I'm really, this is going to be a recurring theme in some of these weight loss type episodes. But I really need to do something, and no excuses, but I really need to do something for myself, because, I can't keep going the way I'm going. Let's just leave it that way. All right. So we're going to talk about the big thing that you've done that a lot of people only, talk about or fantasize about. But you actually did it. And that was twice in your lifetime you lost, and this is not an exaggeration, I don't believe, at least 100 pounds.
Correct.
That's crazy.
Yeah. I mean, when you put it that way, yeah.
Twice in your lifetime, you lost a fucking small cheerleader.
Yeah.
You sweated the bitch out.
Yeah.
I think it bears repeating one more time. You lost 100 pounds twice in your lifetime.
I don't know. Maybe that's why I was able to do it. To me, it's not that big of a deal, just because, it's like, here's the thing with weight loss. It's a process. Mm-hmm. I think people look, a lot of the times, they think like, oh, well, you know, like, especially like we watch a lot of MMA and a lot of fighting, and you came up through high school and collegiate wrestling, where people just shed weight, they cut weight, and they lose a lot of weight quickly. I think the thing is, a lot of people look at like ads for like diet pills, or they look at like crash diets and stuff, and they think the way to lose weight, you got to lose like a good amount of weight within a short amount of time. Like, you got to lose it quick. It's like, no, if you look at it that way, you're not going to get it done. The reason being, because a lot of times when people approach weight loss, they approach it from a standpoint of doing things they don't want to do. For example, like me, I don't really follow any particular strict diet, because here's the thing. Like, food is something you should enjoy. Yeah. It's like, if you don't enjoy what you're eating, it becomes work. And then the thing is, if food becomes work, you're not gonna stick with it long term, because you're not enjoying what you're eating, and it feels like a chore or a job. So you're not gonna stick to it long term. You're gonna drift away from your eating habits. Like, for me, I found like foods that are healthy and good for me, and I stick to them primarily. I mean, obviously I get experimental if I get bored with the food eating, honestly.
Yeah, we made those bison burgers.
Yeah, but the thing is, I typically don't get bored with what I'm eating, because I actually enjoy what I'm eating. So, like, a lot of times, like, Dad helps with barbecuing meats and stuff. Like, pre-quarantine, you know, I'd go over and he would cook, you know, chicken and tri-tip and steaks for me and stuff. And he was actually venturing off and going to start creating his own meal prep business up until, you know, lockdown hit and everything. And that kind of interrupted that. But anyway, yeah, it was very helpful and stuff. And the thing is, like, people would see me, like, at work with my little prepared meals and be impressed. But then they would also have, like, don't you get tired of eating the same stuff? I'm like, no, because the thing is, I legitimately enjoy it.
Yeah, that's interesting, like how you mentioned that, because even with the workouts, you know, you would get like people to say, "Oh, just do this," but I don't like that.
Exactly.
You know, like you know, you mentioned Dad. Like, Dad would be like, "Oh, you have to do cardio and only cardio, and you know, do this," and I'm like, but I don't like that. You know, when I really enjoyed going to the gym was just going to, you know, lift or, you know, do some kind of MMA thing back when I was able to. But if I don't like it, I'm not going to do it, and it's going to be a chore. For episode number 5, man, we introduced another kind of recurring co-host, you know, somebody who's been on the podcast a lot. Roy Rodriguez, funny guy, man. You know, very good guy. I know him from, you know, when we used to work at the same school and whatnot. But this episode is really cool because we just kind of were bullshitting and talking about, you know, a Vegas trip we took. And it was really interesting because I got a message from WWE Hall of Famer, the Godfather, to Roy, and he was really excited about it. So if you listen to that episode, you'll understand why that's significant. But had a lot of fun with that one, and definitely every time after that Roy appeared, and you'll hear that. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to turn you over real quick so you can see the real surprise. Give me a second.
Hey, what's going on, Roy? WWE Hall of Famer, the Godfather here. And your boy, Fabian, he reached out to me, and he said that you guys came to Vegas a couple of years ago, and that you'd heard that I worked at Cheetahs, so you came by. Well, I sold my part of Cheetahs over a year ago. I'm not there anymore. I'm sorry I missed you, first of all. But I'm at a club called the Spearmint Rhino now, and you can catch me there when I'm in town. And I just wanted to tell you guys I'm sorry I missed you. I would have loved to have met you. I would have took you for a little ride on the hoe train, because that's what I do best. But next time we hook it up, man, we're going to do it right. So it's time, once again, for everybody, including my man Roy and Fabian, to come aboard the hoe train. Guys, seriously, next time you're in Vegas, make sure you get a hold of me. You can catch me on Instagram. I am the Godfather on Instagram, verified, so you can always catch me on there. Peace.
Yo.
What do you think about that, man?
Speechless? I'm like, wow. How?
I had to hook it up, man, you know.
How?
A lady never asks, a gentleman never tells.
Well, that is freaking beyond awesome. That's all I'm going to say.
Oh, man.
Wow.
That was a surprise I was hoping that you'd get a kick out of.
Oh, yeah, that is like the best surprise I could think of. I can only think one more, meeting him in person.
Yeah.
But yo, this is freaking awesome.
Hey, but you know what? We got an invite there to the Spearman Rhino, so we'll take a few extra bucks next time, and we'll make it happen. So
for sure.
I hope that kind of makes up for missing them last time.
More than makes up for it.
Yeah. Episode number 6 is a little different. Bao had actually reached out to me, Bao Lam, about wanting to talk about, a couple of different things, universal basic income, and that's something I was unfamiliar with it, which again is kind of like the theme of the podcast, where if I don't know about it, I want to know about it. I want to learn about it. I want you to educate me about it. But he talked about that, and he talked about nuclear energy, and both were a little bit over my head, but man, that guy's, super smart guy, very knowledgeable. Episode number 7, back to kind of the safe interview style, talking to, my good friends and another shit show member, Potter, Isaac Chavez. He jumped on that one, but what was different about that one, and if you haven't listened to it yet, is that he and his wife were on that. And so they talked about, becoming, partners, not just in, their relationship, but also in business and whatnot. And it's an interesting dynamic, but, I think they did plug, their business, Bath and Furry Works. So check that out as well if you get a chance to. I tagged them online on Instagram, so they do good work. Episode number 8, we had another couple on, and this one, though I know Miguel for a long time, since fucking kindergarten, actually, I wouldn't consider him a close friend, but I did this. This is when I started branching out in podcast episodes, sort of. I took a suggestion from Whitey, to talk to him about how he met his wife through gaming. And that's, again, another world where I had no idea, anything about it, really. And so they talked about how they met on, I think, World of Warcraft, and how it's not so uncommon, how you see that more and more these days. So that was kind of, a learning experience for me. But, they were really, really cool to talk to. I'd never met Miguel's wife, Kat, before, but she was super cool. And I like how they talked about, their little bit of country living in Oregon. That's interesting, too. For episode number 9, we actually introduced another of these recurring co-hosts. Can you see a pattern here? It just started using a lot of different people to kind of pop in every now and then. I like that. I like building the rapport, having listeners get familiar with people, not just kind of throwing them in there one time and then they go away. There are a lot of those, but to have recurring co-hosts was something that I wanted to do, just because it builds that familiarity, and people like listening to people they're familiar with, even if they've never met them. But this was an interesting one because George Hernandez, he talked about coaching the state championship football team from Amani, which, if you're from Amani, it's kind of, a milestone, because we don't see that type of success much. And it's a really cool thing to see, and having grown up there, I never played football. I didn't go to Amani High School, but, you can't help but want to cheer these kids on, and see them succeed, because it's kind of like you're living vicariously through them in a way at some point. But that was an interesting episode too, because George talks about how he was seen as a bully in high school, but I mean, as he proves time and time again, he's a giver, man. He gives back to his community, does a lot of good for people. So I mean, I think it's an interesting dynamic, just if you know who he is. And if not, he explains it, but definitely cool episode, cool guy, and he became a big part of the show as well. For episode number 10, man, so we start the whole shit show episode series. we started off by calling it the Drunken Knights of the Round Table, and that was kind of the intent. Just, sip a little bit, talk a lot of stupid shit. And we did talk a lot of stupid shit if you listen to that. We mostly reminisced on our old wrestling days and whatnot. Even got our old coaches to, leave some messages for us, which is really cool. But the thing that made episode number 10 so really cool for me was you get to hear, how, the friends, my inner circle there and how we kind of interact. And I've gotten a lot of good feedback on that. People really enjoy that, the banter back and forth, the joking around, and it's something that I wanted to keep up, so we didn't stop at episode 10. It was, the intention was to have every 10th episode be a shit show episode with the same guests, back every time. And we kept it up, we did 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 I wanted to leave, for the year anniversary, which would be this episode again, but we would, we just couldn't make it happen this time. We'll try to make it happen next time. But I'm glad that people have been enjoying just hearing me catch up with friends because shit, man, it's not even work for me. It's a lot of fun. It's, us pressing record and sharing the stupid conversations we would have anyway. So that's really cool. Anybody want to go over the breakfast deaths? Because that's when I think we knew that Sosa was meant to be in the military.
Wait, what?
The breakfast thefts.
Yeah, the breakfast thefts. I know about the breakfast thefts. I never had tater tots in high school.
Why
we were all poor. We all got government assisted breakfast in the morning, and we'd be sitting there eating our breakfasts. And
okay,
everybody would show up, and sometimes you wouldn't even see Sosa. You would just see a hand pop up, from under the table, and your tater tots are gone. That's why when Napoleon Dynamite came out and they had the tater tot scene, I was like, the first thing I thought of was him. It's like, Napoleon, give me your tots. But he didn't ask, he just took.
And this wasn't a one-time thing. It was a daily occurrence.
No, this happened for years.
And it wasn't just your tots, Whitey. Nobody had tots.
Nobody had tots. Again, I always felt like it was me versus the world, so I felt like they were just my tots.
Matter of fact,
whatever.
I think it almost sparked an actual fight between Sosa and Jonathan Utz.
Oh,
yeah, I remember that.
I think I remember that. Yeah,
took my tots. I was like, "Hey, man, I was hungry."
Oh man,
I think I remember. We were hanging out outside the cafeteria after everybody finished eating, and Sosa just pulled tots right out of his shorts. Just where the fuck did you get tots from?
It was a pretty cool operation, man. How did you even develop that skill?
Hunger will do incredible things to the mind, my friend.
So I remember watching it too. I'm like, fuck, he's gonna get all those tots, So you wouldn't walk on my side because I'd be facing the guys who got their tots stolen, right? So, if I were on the south wall, you'd be coming in from the north side, right? And so you would line yourself up right behind those guys sitting down. You would dive to the floor, right? As quiet as possible. Start hitting some fucking army crawls, and one by one, hand sticks right up like a submarine fucking periscope, whatever the fuck you call that thing, and you would pluck their fucking tots, and they'd be none the wiser till a minute or two later, right? Until you get the ones that just happen to look down at the same time. Those would be angry, but everybody else lost their fucking tots.
Everyone knew what happened.
I was waiting for somebody to catch me,
I really didn't know what a potato was until I was 18.
Whitey looks at the tater tots at Burger King. They can fry those?
Quick, somebody eat them before they disappear.
And then even if they caught you, man, you would do like a fucking forward roll away, you know? So you were pretty
forward roll.
So you were pretty fucking Black Ops with that shit, man.
Best part is, you're not exaggerating any of this shit, is the funny part.
That's the truth.
It sounds like you're making it up, but no, that really happened, ladies and gentlemen.
I'm not going to talk too much about the rest of the episodes. I mean, if they're all, in the archives there on Spotify or wherever you listen to your podcasts. But there are a lot of good ones, and I want to make sure that to mention some of these people at least. I want to thank Sandra, aka Patty Stone, not just for talking about music, but expressing a lot about her faith. Definitely want to thank Nora Malarios for she was talking about fitness originally, but she really shared her passion for teaching special ed, which we need more people like that. For episode number 13, I want to thank Bernardo Hernandez of Dreams Bridal. He has a cool story there too, man. For episode number 14, Marissa Rascon, talking about working for the same agency that I worked for and how that kind of turned into a big old mess. And you just got to listen. It's a long episode, but it's an interesting story. Episode number 15, which was a really important one, I think. It showed that, we just not just comedic on this podcast, but we can also talk about, some deeper shit. And for being so vulnerable, I really got to thank Mary Eileen for talking about things that are difficult to talk about. So definitely, thank her for her bravery there. Episode number 16, good friend Coralie Lara, talked about again fitness. Being somebody who wants to make a living off of fitness, and she's working at that. Episode number 17, old friends from my old bar days when I was a bouncer, Kid Finish, caught up with them and their new album. Episode number 18, I want to thank everybody on the singles panel. That was a lot of fun, and I definitely hope to have another one of those because it was a different type of episode. There was a lot of people on the call, but I think it was a lot of fun. And people were a little quieter in the beginning, but towards the end, I think they opened up and they had fun with that. So thank everybody on that. Episode number 19 was interesting. Again, we kind of talk about, it's kind of like a healthy lifestyle series there too, because we didn't just talk about weight loss, but we talked about, living the big and tall life. Again, George Hernandez was on that one. But I want to thank, the other guests I had on there, which, I split the episode in two. So I want to thank Mark Zapata for being on there as well, of Living Big and Tall. And then episode number 20, of course, that was another shit show. So you already know the deal with those, but I think we started throwing more politics in at that point. Episode 21, man, Sam Mitchell, host of Autism Rocks and Rolls podcast. I want to thank him, and I want to wish him a good luck on his podcast. Really cool kid. Episode number 22, I want to thank Grace Ogata. She was also part of the singles panel, but then we came and did her own episode because she really wanted to talk about mental health. Number 23 was an interesting one because I talked to Mr. Stephen Green, the expat, living in Brazil and from the UK. International episodes, man, they're so interesting. These people from the UK, they got a lot to say. Episode number 24, we talked to, up and coming artists affected by the pandemic. But I think, I see a lot of success coming her way after this. But we talked to Shara about her hit single, which is a top 100 hit. Thank her for being on here, and I hope to see good things there. 25, man, that was a lot of fun too. That was a teachers panel. Again, and a lot of people on the line. But this is important to talk about because, teachers were overworked and a little underappreciated, in my opinion. But this is really cool because I got to have not just former coworkers on there, but my old English teacher from high school was on there. And that Miss Minnick, that was interesting. Never thought I'd have her on my podcast. Any stories there, Miss Minnick?
Oh, yeah. Oh, do I get to tell one? Okay.
Yeah, go ahead. I'm going to try to...
Ninth grade, and Fabian already said ninth grade that he was a little troublemaker, but ninth grade, beginning of the year, don't know this guy at all, nothing, And he comes into my class, and I always have my kids write some kind of getting to know you paragraph or something. You know, tell me about your favorite this, that, or the other, just so I can start getting to know them. And the first thing he writes, the first sentence of his paragraph says, "Hi, my name's Fabian, but you can call me Satan."
I don't remember that.
Oh, Lord Jesus, help me. So,
Oh
anyway, he made massive transformation, though, getting into wrestling, getting into music. I mean, and just, you know, I remember, Fabian, I remember giving you a hug on the graduation line, just saying I'm proud of you. You know, just you grow. You kept growing.
Aw.
You know, and yeah, and Fabian's home life was hard. I ended up having your younger brother later. And, and he was interesting too.
Yeah.
And I can only hope and pray that he has matured and come to some good adulting. But you know, the kids come from different home lives. And it's like, you know, what's that like at home? And then they want to be a different person at school. They really do.
Number 26, surprisingly good episode because, you know, she reached out to me and didn't really mention much about what she was going to talk about on the podcast, but Mo Unique had a very interesting story about, you know, becoming a film student and a musical artist. So I want to thank her for that. Episode number 27, my good friend Tatiana Pacheco of Andrea's Healthy Kitchen talked about her business and what a success that's been. If you're in the Almani area, you've probably already even heard of her, but definitely want to thank her for taking the time to come on and talk about her business. Episode number 28, again originated from the singles panel, but we had Monica Mendez come on and be a little bit of I don't know how else to put it, I guess a witch with the zodiac birth chart reading, and it was my zodiac birth chart reading, and it was a little confusing, but I think I'm starting to understand things a little bit more. Episode number 29. This was different. Man, the great Almani pizza debate. Now, the podcast itself was very short for that one, but the video that went along with it, I thought was a lot of fun. And, you know, people are going to disagree over that. But, you know, I think we made the right call. And if you are from the city of Almani, you know that to be the truth. And if not, I mean, I hope you just enjoyed how the episode came together and how different it was. Again, episode number 30, we got another shit show. You know what it's all about. Listen to that one. Thank the guys for being a part of that again. Episode 31, we had Johnny Roque, comedian. 32, old friend Steven Bejarano, a musician. Thank him for being on. Episode number 33, got the old band together, myself, Whitey, and our friend Bob. 34 had Mr. Steven Martinez of the Mega Man podcast, and he reached out to me, you know, and he asked, what episodes should I listen to of your podcast? I thought that was really cool. You know, he's supporting other people instead of it being, you know, like competitive, which it shouldn't be. It's fucking stupid for podcasts, but it was really cool to see him supporting my podcast and wanting to be a part of it as well. Episode number 35 was interesting with David Fedor of the Bee Gees and Me YouTube channel. I have never met a collector, but goddamn, that guy must spend a fortune. But I want to thank him for being on. Episode number 36, Jana Willoughby Lure, founder of Papercraft Miracles. A small business entrepreneur, you know, and she had some wacky music at the end, which is kind of cool too. But thank her for being on. And then episode 37, man, he kind of saved us there. Adon Ramirez, we were shit out of luck with no guest, a guest canceled. And so Whitey was able to co-host that one. And we met, we already knew Adon, but we introduced the world to Adon, who's the nice guy with the sword and shield. That's an interesting episode there. For episode number 38, I want to thank the newly dubbed at that point Astro Monica again for, you know, jumping back on and talking Zodiac talk for the 2021 New Year. episode number 39, George was back, man, and we did another food review, which is the tacos of Almani. Wonder if we're bringing more food reviews in the future, because those are really fun. Episode 40, again, another shit show. And we, you know, if you listen to one episode of that, you know the nonsense we spew. Episode 41, I talked to Tori from the Chicana Chisme podcast about the Selena series and movie, you know, so that goes to show I can really talk anything with anyone, but I thank her for being a part of that. 42, Taylor Regano, again, another in the kind of healthy lifestyle living. We talked about, you know, what she gained from weight loss, and her experience is a little different because it was through weight loss surgery. And I mean, I've never really heard too much as far as details go, but she was very informative. So that's if that's ever an option, you know, at least I know a little bit more now thanks to her. Episode 43, man, this is kind of an episode I've wanted to do for a while, and so I really got to thank, well, she's going by Victoria Cat. I gotta thank her for opening up about the OnlyFans website and how somebody creates content on there and makes money, and kind of like the thought process behind it, you know. So that's something I wanted to delve into and talk about and share with the audience. So it's just really cool to be able to talk about that with us. And episode number 44, I want to thank, live from Detroit, Jeff Dwelskin. I still don't know if I said his name right, but he was really cool, really interesting guy. Number 45, and this episode 45 was another international one, and it was really cool. We had Callum Schofield, and he talked about his stuttering speech impediment, and other than that, just such an interesting guy. And I think I heard from a lot of people like, man, that was probably one of your best episodes, and I have to agree. For really. It was really just two people from different countries kind of talking about subtle differences, and somehow that really became a cool conversation. But I actually listened to it back a couple times, and I'm like, man, that was a lot of fun. I got to talk to that guy again. So thank him for being on. Episode number 46, Luis FM of La Sancha. They're pumping out music videos and new music constantly, so check them out. Episode number 47, I had Roy back as well as Monica. So I kind of, put them together as co-hosts because they were really cool on the singles podcast, and I thought, it would be good chemistry to have them on as co-hosts at the same time, and I think, it worked, and we're going to have them back at some point as well to co-host another episode. Episode 48, I want to thank Nini Ndongo Macias for joining us and talking a little bit about, being a pageant queen, a singer, but also, having this whole Revolutionary Gal movement that she's putting together. She sticks to her guns, man. A lot of people, talk about how her music, myself included, I thought at first maybe it's a little bit too, how do I put it? Kind of like sugary pop, but that's her style. And episode number 49, we talked to Mr. William Wally of World of Wally podcast. Nice guy, man. Very nice guy. Thank him for being on. Episode number 50, we welcome back George to talk about his nonprofit with his group of friends called It Takes a Village. Check that out. And then the last episode before this one, we had Mark Morales, who's in the horror film industry. And I think I made a new friend, man, with that one. And that's, to catch us up, I think that's one of the coolest parts about the podcast is that I feel like the people that I've talked to, I feel really connected because of those conversations. And on a couple of occasions, it's like, man, I think I just either, rekindled a friendship or just built a new one just because, I don't know what it is. This pandemic, it's been hard to connect with people, but through the podcast, I've been able to do just that. and not just you know, to you that are listening, but these conversations that I've had have been really cool, you know, and even with the people that I thought, I'll just have the conversation with them, we won't keep in touch. You know, I've kept in touch with pretty much you know, at least I want to say 2/3 of the people that I've interviewed. You know, very few there are very few people that I've interviewed that have just kind of like gone away and I haven't talked to, but that is definitely one of the perks of this, and that's something that I've enjoyed, and I hope to continue to do that as well. And you know what? Fuck it. That's it. You know, I don't want to ramble on too much. I typically like having somebody to have a conversation with, so just me babbling on, it ain't gonna cut it. So I really, you know, thank you again for listening. Having done this a year now, I've thought about just maybe taking a bit of a break. We'll see. You know, I already have another episode in the can for next week. But you know, if it calls for a season break, maybe we'll take a season break. But if you know, I keep going at it and just running straight through, that's what I typically tend to do anyway. So we'll see in the coming weeks. But yeah, just enjoy this shit. I'll probably splice in some you know, sound clips for the early episodes if you haven't heard those. But hope you continue, you know, to support the podcast. And I'll keep it going as long as people are listening. Fuck it. Got 5 listeners, and let's keep it going, right? But definitely appreciate everyone listening at home. So like I've said every week this last year, thank you, fuck you, and good night. Subscribe to the Ignorance is Strength podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and Google Podcasts. Like, follow, and share on Facebook and Instagram at Ignorance is Strength Podcast, and on Twitter at The Ignorance Pod.